War had come without warning. One moment, Sergeant Cade was sitting in his small bunk on Outpost Epsilon, sipping hot synth coffee, and the next, the alarms were screaming. A distant boom echoed through the station walls. He grabbed his rifle, boots half-tied, and ran toward the hangar bay. The sky outside was full of fire. Alien ships, sharp like blades, sliced through the clouds above. Cade saw human soldiers and alien allies rushing together, shouting orders. The old peace treaty with the Irani Empire was broken. Nobody knew why. Cade didn't wait for answers. Bravo. Squad on me. He'd barked. He was a simple man, disciplined, loyal. But today, something was wrong. Orders were messy. Half the communications were down. He was told to escort a Irani royal to safety. It seemed odd to him. Why would an alien princess be on a human base? He didn't have time to question. He had a mission. He reached the royal quarters. The hallway was half destroyed. Flames licked the walls. Smoke stung his eyes. He kicked the door open and raised his weapon. Inside stood a tall Irani girl, her skin pale silver like moonlight, her hair glowing faintly blue. She was clearly not dressed for war. In fact, she wasn't dressed at all. Cade froze. The girl gasped. Her glowing eyes widened with terror, not from modesty, but from something worse. She grabbed a crystal blade off the table and pointed it at Cade's chest. "You saw me," she hissed, voice low and sharp. "Without royal veil, that means one thing, human." Cade blinked. "What?" She didn't lower the blade. "Now you must marry me." He thought she was joking. Then he heard boots down the hall. Enemy boots. Heavy. Close. "Look, we don't have time for this," Cade growled. "You want to live? Grab something and move." "No." She stepped closer, blade still raised. "If I don't bond with you now, I'll be executed by my people." "You will too. That is Irani law. You saw me." As only a husband should. Another explosion shook the walls. Lights flickered. Cade cursed. "Lady, I don't care what your laws say right now," he snapped. "I came here to protect you." Not a loud bang cut him off. The enemy breached the lower hall. The girl, barely 20 by human count, but full of fire, grabbed a golden cloth from the table, wrapped it around herself, and tossed him a small glowing stone. "Take this," she said. "Squeeze it. Say my name." "What name?" "Orioneth." She stared at him, eyes burning, heart racing. "Say it or we both die." Cade didn't understand, but his soldier instincts screamed to obey. He squeezed the stone and muttered, "Orioneth." The stone glowed. She gasped out a golden mark. Lit up on her collarbone. Another lit up on his palm. It burned, but he didn't let go. She looked at him in shock. "It's done," she whispered. "We are bonded." Cade had no idea what just happened. "I didn't agree to anything." "You didn't have to," she said. "You spoke the name. The stone knows. We are one now." More. Enemy shouts echoed closer. No time to argue. Cade grabbed her wrist. "Fine. We'll sort this marriage thing out later, if we live." They ran through fire and gunfire. He shot down 2 raiders, shielded her with his body, and finally reached the evac ship. Orioneth didn't complain once. She was barefoot, half-dressed, carrying the sword like it was part of her soul. Once inside the shuttle, Cade collapsed into a seat, bleeding from his shoulder. She leaned over him, touched the mark on his hand, and whispered something in her alien tongue. His vision blurred for a moment. Then the pain eased. Not gone, but not as sharp. She had healed him somehow. "Thanks," he muttered. "I must protect you now too," she said softly. "That is also part of the bond." He looked at her again. Not just as some strange alien royal, but as someone who had just risked everything for him too. "This isn't over," Cade warned. "No," she agreed. "Now it's only beginning." And the shuttle lifted off into a war neither of them fully understood, and a bond neither had chosen. but could no longer escape. The shuttle rocked as it left the battlefield behind. Explosions still echoed far below, but the stars above were calm. Cade leaned against the wall of the transport, his hand still burning with the strange mark. Orioneth sat across from him, silent, watching him closely. He didn't understand her, not fully. But he knew she wasn't just any alien girl. She was important. And now, because of one moment, one look, he was tied to her forever. How long does this bond last? He asked finally. Until one of us dies, she said simply. Cade sat up straight. That's not funny. I'm not joking, she replied. You saw me uncovered. My people believe that is sacred. If a man sees a royal female without her veil, he must either be her mate or be killed to protect her honor. And if I don't fight for that honor, I am killed as well. Cade rubbed his face. Great, so because I walked in during a crisis and saved your life, now I have to be your husband? Yes, she said. That's exactly it, he groaned. I didn't even know your people were here. My mother sent me to your outpost secretly, Orioneth said. To learn about humans, to test peace between us. But someone betrayed her. That's why we were attacked. Someone wants war. The pieces started to make sense in Cade's head. This wasn't just about him or her. This was political. Dangerous. Someone wanted her dead. And now, because of the bond, they'd come for him too. The shuttle landed on a human cruiser in orbit. Marines waited with weapons drawn. Cade stepped out first, holding up his badge. Orioneth followed, wrapped in the golden cloth, walking proudly beside him. She looked calm, but he could feel her hand trembling. Sergeant Cade, barked the ship's captain. Who the hell is this? Urani Royal. She was inside the outpost when the attack began, Kat explained quickly. I was ordered to protect her. The captain narrowed his eyes. Why is there a glowing mark on your hand? Cade hesitated. It's complicated. Orioneth stepped forward. He is my bonded mate now. It happened under emergency conditions. According to Urani law, we are united. Whispers spread among the soldiers. Some stared. Others stepped back in surprise at the captain's side and waved them inside. We'll sort this out with command. Until then, stay close to her, Sergeant. If what she says is true, she's not just a guest anymore. She's your responsibility. As they walked through the halls, Cad noticed the way people looked at them, curious, suspicious, even afraid. A Rani princess and a human soldier. It didn't make sense to anyone. Not even to him. Later, in a private room, Cade sat on the edge of the bed while Orioneth stood by the window, looking out at the stars. I didn't ask for this, he said. I didn't either, she answered softly. He looked up at her. Your royalty, I'm just a soldier. But you saved me, she said. And now, by Urani tradition, you are more than just a soldier. You are chosen. He laughed bitterly. Chosen? I can't even understand your culture. You don't have to, she said, turning to him. You just have to protect me, and maybe survive. Cade leaned back and stared at the ceiling. What happens if we don't pretend to be married? What if we just break the rules? They will hunt us both. My people, yours too, maybe. If they think we're breaking the treaty. Because I saw you, he said again, still not believing it. Yes, and because the bond is real now. Our lives are linked. If I die, you suffer. If you die, I feel it too. That's how Urani bonding works. Cade was quiet for a long time. Finally he asked, what happens if we do follow the law? Orioneth walked slowly toward him. Her voice lowered. Then you must live beside me. As my mate, as my protector, through peace or war. Cade looked up at her. Her eyes were soft, glowing blue like a calm ocean. And for the first time, he saw not just an alien girl, but someone scared, lonely, trying to survive in a world That was suddenly against her. He stood up and reached for her hand. She let him take it. "Then we figure this out together," he said. She nodded once. Together. But outside their door, far down the hallway, a silent signal was already being sent. A shadow moved in the darkness. Someone was watching. And not everyone wanted the bond to survive. Cade woke to a strange sound. It wasn't loud. Just a soft metallic click, too careful to be an accident. His eyes opened instantly. Years of war had trained him to wake without movement. He kept still, listening. The room was dark, except for the soft glow of the Irani bonding mark on his hand. The sound came again. A slow slide of metal against metal. He reached quietly for the pistol. Under his pillow, Orioneth slept on the other side of the room, curled on a padded bench near the window. She looked peaceful, her glowing hair spread around her like silk. But even in her sleep, her fingers rested near the crystal blade she kept close. Cade's fingers closed around the pistol grip. Then he heard a soft breath. Someone was in the room. He didn't move. Not yet. Instead, he listened and waited. Another breath. Closer now. Then something cold pressed against his neck. Cade reacted instantly. He rolled sideways, grabbing the intruder's wrist, twisting it hard. A sharp hiss came from the darkness. The pistol fired. A flash lit the room, brief, but bright. The attacker wore dark armor, unfamiliar and sleek. Not Irani. Not human military either. Something else. The intruder kicked hard, knocking Cade back. But before the attacker could escape, Orioneth moved. Fast. She didn't scream. She didn't hesitate. She was on the intruder in seconds, blade flashing. The two clashed in the tight space, steel against energy, speed against instinct. Cade scrambled up, firing once more. The attacker growled, then slammed something to the ground. Smoke burst from a small pod, filling the room with thick choking gas. By the time it cleared, the intruder was gone. The door had been sliced open with a strange tool. Cade and Orioneth stood in silence, breathing hard. "You all right?" Cade asked. "Yes," she said, brushing dust from her arms. "You?" He nodded. "Who the hell was that?" "Not Irani," she said, voice tight. "Not any faction I know." "They came to kill us," he said. "No," she said slowly, eyes narrowing. "Not kill. Take. Did you see the collar they dropped?" He looked down. A thin silver collar, designed for containment, lay in the smoke. Alien tech. Slave tech. Someone wanted her captured. Orioneth stepped back and gripped the edge of the bench. Her hands were shaking now. Cade walked over and sat beside her. "This is bigger than we thought," he said. She looked at him with worried eyes. "I think someone sold my location. Maybe even someone on your side." Cade wanted to deny it. But after years in the military, he knew betrayal didn't care about sides. He stood and activated the wall. "Come. Captain Reeds, this is Sergeant Cade. We've just had an intruder in our quarters. Not human, not Irani. Someone is targeting the girl." The captain's voice came back sharp. "Understood. I'm sending a full security team. Stay inside. Lock the door." "Already locked," Cade said, watching the sealed door flicker with a new layer of energy. But it didn't stop them last time. He turned back to Orioneth. She was now standing straight again, shoulders strong. "We're not safe here," she said. "I agree," Cade replied. "But where is safe?" She looked out the window at the stars. "There's a neutral moon nearby, unclaimed land. Sacred to both our people. They can't follow us there without breaking a treaty." He raised an eyebrow. "You're saying we leave the military cruiser? Just disappear?" "They want me silenced, Cade," she said. "Not because of the bond, because I know something." "What? Do you know?" She hesitated. "I overheard my mother speaking before the war began. She didn't start this. She was forced to declare it. Someone is controlling the council. Someone working with outside forces. They want a reason to destroy. Human Yorani peace forever, and you being bonded to a human. Makes that impossible, Cade realized. Orion F nodded. So they will stop at nothing to erase us. Cade looked at the collar again. Then at her. Then we get off this ship, quietly, no orders, no trail. She gave a small, grim smile. You'd break orders for me? I already did, he said, the moment I said your name. She reached out and touched the glowing mark on his hand. I won't forget it. Cade packed what little gear he had. Orioneth wrapped herself in human combat cloth, hiding her glow under a dark hood. They moved through back corridors, past sleeping guards and broken cameras. When they reached the hangar, a small scout ship sat waiting. Do you know how to fly that? He whispered. No, she said. He sighed. I do, and they slipped into the ship, engines humming low. As they left the cruiser behind, no alarm sounded. But somewhere deep in the shadows, the enemy had already noticed. The scout ship slipped through the dark like a shadow in water. Cade kept his hands tight on the controls. Orioneth sat beside him, watching the scanner screen with sharp eyes. Every few seconds, she glanced behind them, even though the rear camera showed nothing. They didn't speak much during the first hour. Cade focused on flying low, avoiding patrols. The Urani princess sat in silence, but her fingers kept brushing the mark on her neck, glowing faintly beneath her hood. That mark connected them now, and both of them could feel it. We're not being followed, Cade finally said, his voice low. Not yet, Orioneth answered. But they will come. They always do, Cade sighed. You still think this moon will protect us? Yes, she said. It is sacred land. Even assassins fear dishonor there. We'll be safe long enough to speak with someone I trust. Cade gave her a sideways glance. Who? My aunt, she said. She's part of the old guard. Not involved in the council's power games. She knows secrets, and she can hide us. Let's hope so, Cade muttered. Because if they find us out here, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. They flew in silence again. But this time, it was heavier. After a few more hours, the moon appeared ahead, white and quiet, floating like a pearl in the stars. It had no cities, no stations. Just temples carved from stone, glowing softly from old energy buried in the rock. The place felt ancient and strange. Cade landed the ship in a small valley surrounded by silver trees. A strong breeze blew dust across the surface, and the wind made a low howling sound. Orioneth stepped out first, lifting her hood. Her hair glowed again under the sky. This place smells like old ghosts, Cade muttered. She smiled slightly. It's supposed to. They walked for 20 minutes through stone paths and mossy roots. Then they reached a temple tall, cracked, and glowing with faint gold lines. At the top of the stairs, a woman stood waiting. She was older than Orioneth, taller, with sharper eyes. Her armor was ancient but clean. Her voice was deep and calm. You brought him, she said. He is my bonded, Orioneth said. We had no choice. The woman stepped closer, looking Cade up and down. Human, she said. Do you understand what this means? No, Cade said. But I know we're in danger. And I know I'd rather be hunted than let her die. The woman stared at him for a long moment. Then she nodded once. Good, come inside. The temple was cool and quiet. Inside, the walls were filled with glowing text and alien script. Cade couldn't read it, but Orioneth touched the wall gently as they passed. Like greeting an old friend. In the center of the temple was a pool of still water. The ant named Lashara sat down beside it. They will come for her, she said, and when they do, you must be ready. I've handled worse, Cade said. Lashara shook her head. No, human, you haven't. Orioneth knelt beside her aunt. We think the council is being controlled. Someone forced my mother to break the treaty. I know, Lashara said. The proof is in the old codes. But the people won't believe it unless they see it with their own eyes. Then we show them, Cade said. LSHRI looked at him again. You don't understand your role in this. Yet, you are more than her protector now. You are her shield and her voice. The bond between you is strong, but it must be proven in front of the sacred circle. What's the sacred circle? Cade asked. A trial of the heart, Orioneth sighed quietly. It will test if our bond is true or fake. If we fail, the temple rejects us, and the punishment is death. Cade's stomach turned. You didn't mention that part. I didn't think we'd come this far, she whispered. That night, Cade couldn't sleep. He sat by the glowing pool, thinking. His life had changed in just 2 days. From a simple soldier to a bonded mate of a princess. From protector to hunted. He looked at his marked hand. The glow pulsed slowly, warm, steady. He didn't understand it. But somehow, when she was near, it hurt less. Suddenly, the mark on his palm burned hot. A sharp warning. Footsteps echoed down the stone hall. He grabbed his gun and stood. But it wasn't an enemy. It was Arya's single quotesneth. She walked quietly toward him, barefoot, wearing a simple black cloak. Her face was calm, but her eyes were serious. They found us, she said. Cade stood fast, gun raised, as Orioneth stepped closer. She placed a hand gently on his arm and shook her head. Not now, she whispered. There are no soldiers yet, just the warning. From the bond. He slowly lowered the weapon, though his eyes stayed sharp. How do you know it's not just fear? He asked. I've felt fear before, she said. This is different. This is a warning. The temple feels it too. As if to answer her words, the golden lines on the temple walls flickered, dimmed, then flared back to life with brighter, faster pulses. Lashara entered, her face grave. They've landed at the far end of the valley, she said. Small ship, no flags. They want to keep it quiet. Cade clenched his jaw. Assassins. Orioneth turned to her aunt. We need to enter the sacred circle, tonight, before they reach us. Lashara hesitated. It is dangerous. If your bond is not strong enough, we don't have a choice, Orioneth interrupted. They will not stop. And if we fall, so does the chance for peace. Cade stepped forward. Tell me what I have to do. Lashara looked at him with steady eyes. You walk together into the circle. You do not lie. You do not hide. It will see your memories, your pain, and your truth. And if it finds use weak, he asked, the bond breaks. Your souls are unlinked, she said, and the temple destroys you both. Cade looked at Orioneth. She nodded once, calm and brave. He swallowed hard. Let's do it. They followed Lashara deep into the back of the temple. The air grew colder. The stones felt heavier. Then they reached a wide chamber with a high ceiling. In the center lay a round stone floor covered in glowing runes. It pulsed like a heartbeat. The circle, Orioneth whispered. They stepped onto the stone together. As soon as their feet touched the middle, the runes lit up. A wind rose without sound. A golden dome of light rose around them, closing them off from the rest of the world. Cade looked around. Now what? Then everything changed. He was no longer in the temple. He stood on the battlefield again alone. Smoke, screams, gunfire. He saw himself running into the royal chamber. He saw Orioneth turn, uncovered, reaching for her blade. He was reliving the moment, but it was more than memory. He felt it again. The fear, the heat, her voice, her eyes, and then it changed again. He was now in her memory. He stood in a golden hall, watching through her eyes as she argued with her mother, pleading for peace, for trust in the humans. Her mother warned her of betrayal, of danger, of war. That could not be avoided. Then came the explosion. The betrayal, her mother being forced into silence, and Orioneth being sent away alone. More flashes came, Cade's wounds. Her healing touch. Her fear of failing. Her quiet joy when he squeezed the stone and spoke. Her name. It wasn't just a test. The circle was joining their hearts, and when the lights faded, they were back on the stone floor, holding hands tightly. The golden light began to dim, but it didn't disappear. Instead, it turned blue, calm and deep. Lashara stepped forward, eyes wide with awe. "The circle accepts," she whispered. "Your bond is true." Orioneth let out a shaky breath. Cade didn't realize he was still gripping her hand so tightly until she smiled and gave his fingers a soft squeeze. He relaxed. Just a little, but there was no time for peace. Outside the chamber, voices shouted. A warning bell rang. Lashara rushed to the door. "They've breached the outer path. Armed. Moving fast." Cade pulled out his weapon and turned to Orioneth. "You said they wouldn't dare fight here." She grabbed her sword from the wall. "They shouldn't, but they've already broken one law. Why stop now?" They ran together back through the temple halls, joining Lashara near the entrance. Outside, under the pale moonlight, 6 figures moved through the valley, dark armor, glowing red visors, silent as death. Orioneth stepped forward, eyes burning. "This land is sacred," she shouted. "You have no right here." One of the armored attackers raised a weapon. The answer was clear. Cade stepped in front of her. "They're not here to argue." Then the first shot was fired. Cade pushed Orioneth behind a pillar and returned fire. Lashara's blade lit the night with energy as she met the enemy in close combat. For a moment, chaos took over. Cade shot. One down, then another, but they kept coming. He turned to Orioneth, who now stood calmly, sword glowing, eyes closed. "What are you doing?" He yelled. She opened her eyes, and they were burning with light. "I called the temple," she said, and the ground began to shake. The ground shook harder. Cracks formed beneath their feet. The golden runes on the temple walls flared to life, brighter than ever before. Wind howled through the valley, but there was no storm, only power. Orioneth stood tall, arms out, sword glowing like a sunbeam. "The temple accepts our bond," she said loudly, "and now it fights with us." The enemy didn't stop. They moved forward, fast and silent, trying to reach her. But the stone under them broke apart. One of the armored figures fell into a glowing pit as the earth split open. Another was flung into the trees by a sudden burst of wind. Cade fired again, hitting a third one in the chest. Sparks flew. Behind him, Lashara blocked 2 more with her energy blade, spinning and striking with perfect skill. Even in her age, she was faster than most young warriors, but there were still 2 enemies left, and they moved like ghosts. One charged straight for Arya. Cade saw it just in time. He dove in front of her, grabbing the attacker mid-leap. They both slammed into the stone wall hard. The soldier's knife scraped against Cade's armor, missing his side by inches. Cade grunted, punched, and fired twice. The figure fell. He turned, but the last attacker was already behind Arya. Too fast. Too close. "No!" Cade shouted, but she didn't run. She turned and let the blade strike her shoulder. It sank deep. She didn't scream. Instead, she stabbed her own sword straight through the enemy's chest. The final assassin collapsed. The battle was over, but Orioneth was bleeding badly, her silver blood dripping down her arm. Cade dropped his weapon and rushed to her. "Stay with me," he said, his voice shaking. "Don't you die on me now, not after all this." She smiled weakly. "It's only the shoulder. I've had worse." He pulled her close and helped her sit. Lashara came over and placed her hand over the wound. Her eyes closed. Soft light flowed from her fingers, slowing the bleeding. "I can stop the pain," she said. "But only the bond can finish the healing." Cade didn't wait. He took Orioneth's hand and pressed it to his marked palm. He whispered her Name again. Orioneth. The mark on their skin glowed like fire, then like starlight. The wound on her shoulder closed slowly, leaving only a faint scar. Orioneth blinked and looked at him. You remembered my name, she said softly. I never forgot it, Cade replied. The wind calmed, the light faded, and the temple became still once again. For a moment, it was quiet. Then Lashara stood and looked up toward the sky. More ships are coming, she said. But this time, not enemies. Look. Above them, human and Urani ships approached together, flying side by side. How? Cade asked. The sacred circle saw the truth, Orioneth said. It sent out a message. Both sides heard it. Within the hour, peace envoys landed. High-ranking human officers. Urani elders, no weapons drawn. No threats. Instead, they came to the temple. They came to listen. And Orioneth stood with Cade, her bonded mate, and told them everything. She told them about the lies, the forced war, the betrayal of her mother, the fake orders. She showed them the wound, the attack on sacred land, the truth of their bond. They believed her, not just because of her words, but because the circle had seen it all and sent the truth to both worlds. 2 days later, the war was stopped, the council was exposed, and peace, for the first time in years, had a real chance. Cade stood beside Orioneth, at the top of the temple steps as a crowd of humans and Urani watched from below. The wind was warm that day. The valley was green. She looked at him and whispered, Do you still think you were just a soldier? He smiled. No, I think I was chosen. She took his hand, proud and gentle. And now, she said, we write a new story together. The temple glowed softly around them, the bond between them stronger than ever, not just born from accident, but from courage, truth, and choice.